Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President and Founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. Continuing our week full of gratitude. Today is the very special day where we should be most grateful if you're here in the United States. And I am going to throw one that's a curveball at you. I am grateful for traditional project management. What? Absolutely. So any of you who have ever heard me present before at a PMI conference will hear me say that I firmly believe the PMP is the gold standard of project management. And I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from that traditional PMP mindset that will help us be better agilists. And I think that sometimes we throw that away. So I'm grateful for the PMP. I'm grateful for PMI as an organization, and I'm grateful that they set up successful project management principles that we can adapt to work inside of an agile organization. So today I'm going to help identify 5 things, or I guess 5 ways to be more effective as a project manager working on an agile project. So here we go, right? And these project management principles are coming straight from traditional project management, but they can also be applied in an agile mindset. So pay attention, because these are going to be interesting to compare to what an agile scrum master or product owner might do versus what a traditional project manager might do. So coming out right at the top, successful project managers are great at communication. They are fantastic communicators. In fact, there's even a formula for communication as part of the PMP, right? So to be successful as a project manager, one of the most important abilities you need to have is you need to be able to develop and hone in on those communication skills. Project managers need to effectively communicate not only amongst the team, but they need to talk to stakeholders, sponsors, investors, managers, leaders. They have a lot of different things they need to facilitate and talk about. It's also important that they are effective and efficient at their communication, because they don't want to make these meetings long-winded. So they need to have some skills that are leadership driven as well in order to be able to do this. They need to know and be on the same page as the person that they're talking to. So they need to be familiar with different roles and responsibilities. And it's important for them to understand that in order for things to progress forward properly, that they need to have great skills when it comes to understanding and relaying instructions, guidance, and information for the team members as they're doing the work. So there you have it. It's important to have good interpersonal skills as well. There's nothing worse than a deadpan project manager. I've had those, and it's awful. Number 2. Successful project managers are also great leaders. Leadership is a key to project management. Amen. The leader often creates a vision and a goal for a project, much like a product owner. The leader communicates this to the team as well as the client, as well as the stakeholders if they're present, the sponsors, etc. With this, they provide their subordinates with clear objectives so they have strong understanding of what's being expected of them. So in order to be an effective leader, they need to be thoughtful and decisive and understand exactly what's happening. And they need to understand risk management as well, right? So it's important that they take they take a stance on where they are in a project, but it's also important that they don't come across as being entirely authoritative or like a real world manager. So we don't want them to go through making assumptions and trying to do things based on personal bias or cognitive bias. But we also don't want them to stifle the creativity of the team and the initiative that's going on by trying to squelch everything that's happening. So I think this is a good blend. And I think the message here is that if you're going to be an effective project manager, that you need to have good balance of strategic initiative, what the team's doing from a technology perspective, and also what's actually needed by the end client. So you need to have that form of communication we're talking about up top. Coming in at number 3. Effective project managers use data to drive decisions and to manage the process and not the people. I think that's a key here. I think that too often we forget about managing the process and we go straight to managing the people. And that's true for Scrum Masters. That's true for leadership. That's true for all kinds of people. I think many people get in here and they start just jumping in with micromanaging. They feel like I've been burnt before in the past, so I need to manage everything to the letter of the law. And I think that, if you're trying to micromanage everything and you're hyper tracking progress, that you're just going to make people upset, and that people aren't going to complete tasks, projects aren't going to get done, commitments aren't going to be met. It's just going to cause you to go into this cycle of shame, if you will, right? And blame. You're going to be casting blame on others. So I think it's important that we understand that that blame is a real thing and that we shouldn't be blaming others, that we need to understand how to manage the responsibility model, and that we need to manage the process and not the people. And if we manage the process and focus on the process, the people will govern and manage themselves, right? Just food for thought. So our job should be to focus on commitment, dedication, be an effective remover of obstacles. Boy, is this starting to sound familiar? Right? And this is all from a traditional project manager perspective, which I think is super cool. That's why I'm grateful for it. Coming in at number 4, a successful project manager is able to set expectations and doesn't hesitate to say no when deemed necessary. Another common pitfall I see when I go into organizations that have traditional project management or even product ownership is that they have an inability to say no. Saying no isn't necessarily saying no forever. You need to master the art of saying no, not right now, right? Or no, that's not urgent right this minute. And I think that people often wish they could put this in a job description, right? But, if your immediate gut feeling says the answer is no, chances are it probably is no. It's one thing to work efficiently and effectively, but it's another thing to spread yourself too thin or spread the team too thin and try to get them to deliver way more than they can actually deliver. Successful project managers know where that line in the sand is, and they know where to draw the line, and they often know how to say no pun intended. But project managers need to be aware of the team's capabilities, the team's capacity. They need to be aware of social norms and standards. They need to be aware of deadlines that are coming up. They need to be aware of any impediments that are preventing the team from moving forward. There's lots of things that need to be taken into consideration, but the goal here should be to avoid chaos and do the best to keep everyone happy. And if you're doing that, you're setting realistic expectations, and using no as a way to get to realistic expectations is a big plus. That's a good thing, right? You want to use no to get to realistic expectations. Okay, and coming in at number 5, the last one, promote trust and transparency and focus on continuous improvement. One of the things I see inside of many organizations where traditional project management lies is that there isn't a focus on trust. There isn't a focus on transparency. New ideas emerge and they often get flushed away. The feedback loop gets closed because people are shut down and they don't like feedback because they've been burned before. It winds up being this closed room where the walls are coming in, and project managers are often perceived as micromanagers or bullies, that they're bullying people around, and we need to get past that. I think that successful project managers are transparent in their communication. They understand good decision-making principles. They're not so caught up in day-to-day activities and managing people that they forget that the project is the most important thing that they're trying to drive. I think that they understand introspection and retrospection, and that failure is an option, and it's going to help us to improve what we're trying to do from a project management perspective. I think that effective project managers are ones who are dedicated to the project and feel some sense of ownership. They know that the team is responsible and accountable for getting the work done, but they feel like they have some level of ownership. It's not like they're the only one making the calls, but they do have their foot in the door when it comes to decision-making processes, and they cultivate an environment of psychological safety where teamwork and radical candor survive, and it's okay to be transparent about what's going on. I think that the more project managers learn to support their team in these initiatives, it'll help keep morale high and it'll help keep people happy. And when things aren't going to plan, they're not afraid to talk about it openly and exhibit encouragement or praise for a job well done. I think that it's important for us to invest. And this is why I think strong project management is something that we should be grateful for. Now, not every project manager falls into that category, but the ones who do oftentimes are effective, whether it be on an agile project or a traditional project, and they're the ones who get things done. So there you go. So I'm grateful for traditional project management for all that it's taught me that could be applied to agile. So I hope that you have the most amazing week of gratitude as it's Thanksgiving week here in the US. And as always, I encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Do take care.